and welcome to the Happy Horse Nutrition Podcast. I'm Dr Nerida, and today I'm joined again by my lovely friend Orla for another relaxed Q&A episode. This one is a very real horse person conversation. We were actually sitting in the same room this time, microphones in hand, and trying not to laugh too loudly into each other's audio, and as you will hear, only partly succeeding. Orla is now spending a lot more time around gastroscopes, so she came armed with some brilliant questions and a few very interesting stories. We start with a pony who had a beautifully clean stomach, but somehow had gravel sitting near the exit of its stomach. That led us into sand and gravel accumulation, psyllium husk, forage, fibre, and why keeping the gut moving matters so much. From there, we talked about ulcers, fasting horses for gastroscopy, Haynets, saliva, and we answer a great listener question about Lucerne or alfalfa and whether it really is safe for metabolic horses. We also touch on soaking hay, muscle cramping, potassium, and the diseases PSSM and HYPP. So yes, there are a few sidetracks, and yes, there is plenty of laughing, but underneath all of that are some useful, practical takeaways for managing real horses in the real world. So grab a coffee, sit on a feed bin, and enjoy this Q&A chat with Orla. Orla, welcome back to the Happy Horse Nutrition Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's so good to have you back. And today we actually have Orla sitting on the floor, strangely, in my office. We both have microphones and we just had a big laugh as we started because it will make it hard for David to edit. Sorry, David. But yeah, good to have you back.
I'm excited to be back.
And
it's been a while.
It has been a while, and you've actually started a new job since we last chatted.
I have, yes, which has given me lots of new questions, which is very exciting.
Yeah, very good. Do you want to explain what you're doing these days?
I'm allowed to plug this?
I think
cool.
so.
Excellent.
Go for it.
Working for Randlab. So it's an eco and pharmaceutical company, well, animals as well. And then, we do a lot of gastroscoping. So looking for ulcers in horses' stomachs, which is great.
Constantly, yeah, wow, so many interesting things. I find myself a little bit jealous of that because it would just be so fascinating to see what's in a horse's stomach and what they're fed and what situation has led to a horse being in that state. Whatever you find, like you might find nothing.
And that's the funny one that is like my first question for you was this perfect little pony. Everything was right. Just a lovely owner. It was like, I just want to see if there's anything there. Stomach was clean and the pylorus, which is where it exits out of the stomach, full of gravel. Oh, yeah. Did I not show you the video when I got here? No, I didn't.
No.
Oh, sorry. Full of gravel.
Wow.
Yeah. So everything was fine. The pony's obviously just been chewing away on gravel. And then it made me think back to your, one of your episodes, you're talking about colics in winter. And I was like, right, I didn't ever think to do a psyllium husk treatment in winter. And now I'm like, right, everyone needs to go and do a treatment for sand and gravel.
So two things. Now all I can think of is physiology in undergrad uni and learning about the chicken's gastrointestinal tract and how chickens will swallow rocks because they don't have teeth. And then they use their gizzard to grind up food. Did you know this?
No.
Chickens are freaky. Their
I don't like
physiology.
them. I don't like them.
But maybe the pony thought it was a chicken.
Look, it was very cute and it was quite golden.
Oh, feathers. Yeah, wow, that's weird. So if the gravel has accumulated in the stomach's not letting it out.
Well, it's out of the actual base of the stomach, and it was then in the pylorus. So it was working its way through,
but not in the small intestine yet.
Well, we don't know. Can't scan that.
Oh.
So I'm guessing it's going to work its way through there. This was like this. The vet and I are looking at each other with the camera, and I'm like, "Is that gravel?" And he's like, "I think it's gravel." I'm like, "I really think that's gravel."
Okay, and there was no. So that part of the stomach wasn't damaged by the gravel?
No. And so obviously you can't, because there's still the gastric acid at the bottom, you can't see what's underneath that. So I was like, oh, I'd love to flip this pony up on its side.
Turn it upside down, gastroscope. We've got come to the Happy Horse Nutrition Podcast. We have all the answers. It's a pony that thinks it's a chicken and then we need to turn it upside down to see what's really going on. It's Friday afternoon. Sorry, everyone. And Orla and I may be a little bit tired after our weeks, but we'll
she
try
gave
and
me a decaf coffee.
Try and get something useful out to you. So, okay, my next thought then with that bit of information is maybe because that pony had to be fasted, maybe it's just eaten gravel that night.
It's picked something up on the ground.
Just on its way through
That's what they're hoping.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was like the proper like bitumen gravel.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll show you the video. It's mind blowing.
Wow.
But then like she was asking me questions, and I'm like, oh well, you do the psyllium husks, and then I can hear you in my head going, oh God, psyllium prevents absorption of other things too. So while we're here, you may as well talk on that too.
And I don't know. I mean, psyllium works, and it does work a lot better when you combine it with magnesium sulfate, so Epsom salts. But that's a veterinary thing to do. So if you're just feeding it, and like I have had so much success with getting horses from being really bloaty and colicky and stuff to and having diarrhea to not just with psyllium husk without also doing the magnesium sulfate as well. And I think with you're right, because it's so gelatinous, like sticky in the gut, it does trap other nutrients. And there was research I saw years ago now, but if you fed psyllium with something that was meant to give a higher glycemic response, you got a lower glycemic response. And I have a feeling that there's also research showing like reduced absorption of other nutrients because of the glugginess it creates. Like it literally stops nutrients from moving around properly in the small intestine, and then they can't be absorbed properly. But it's also meant to, so fibre, horses on a normal diet with lots of forage and lots of fibre moving through the gut, all of that fibre will just pick up sand and move it or dirt out of a horse's gut. Like that's
Right,
because
yeah.
they eat so much soil, right? There's research showing that they eat more than a kilo of soil every day.
Really?
Massive amount of soil. So it's to be expected that if they've evolved for this long with their noses on the ground eating, that they've developed some way of moving that stuff through their gut. The problems start to happen when you've got horses who are on restricted forage diets, either for weight gain reasons or because it's drought. So drought's your classic one. If they're not being hand-fed very much, they're not getting that forage fibre and they're getting more soil. So you've got the soil intake or the sand intake increasing and you've got forage and fibre intake decreasing, and then it will accumulate in there. And that's where psyllium like to bulk up. I suppose it sort of turns the fluid of the way I think of it in my head. And when you play with the stuff, just in water, you see sort of what it does.
Yeah.
It's really sticky. So it'll just kind of pick up the little particles of soil and sand and carry them out in the manure. But gravel, I think it'd really struggle. But what I would be doing with that horse is just making sure it's got lots and lots and lots of pasture or hay that will just help all of that move through. Tell me though, why did they gastroscope that pony? What was
just a really lovely owner. Just wanted to make sure that pony was okay. Yeah. I'll go back to look at the paperwork, but I'm quite sure that one was just like, I just love my pony. I had lots of those, and they were the ones that all had problems.
Okay, so it's good then that it was a well looked after pony and the stomach was great, other than I'd be going for that pony's like, you are starving me, I am going to die, and therefore I need to eat these rocks.
Well, and it was funny because the vet was in like, oh, let's just have a look at her teeth. Teeth are fine. Like, what is wrong with this thing?
Yeah, okay. So it'd be interesting. It probably needs a muzzle on it if they're going to fast it again. Just to stop it from, or put it somewhere, because you can't, like when you fast them, you can't fast them on straw or on, you could fast them on dirt, sand or whatever, but if it's going to eat that, then you'll probably find that. Wow, that's a new one. Thanks, Orla.
Well, and yeah, if anyone's going to do a gastroscope, get a nose bag. I went to one place and all the horses were nose bags. I'm like, well, this makes more sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, and hot tip, everyone, makes your life a whole lot easier.
Yeah, and if they're the nose bags that are made out of the sort of shade cloth material, they can still drink.
Yeah, it's good.
So just dunk there. There's always, you'd want to make sure that they were familiar with drinking. You have to take them off water after a while anyway, 6 hours. Yeah.
So and we're never going to be doing a scoping at 6 o'clock in the morning. So as long as you got up early and just took the water away, then you'll be fine. There's a few vets who want to do like scoping parties. So go to the showgrounds the night before, and the horses will all fast, and we'll all have a pizza party and feel sorry for our horses together.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, right?
Except then you have to put the effort of camping in on top of the effort of having your gastroscope done. So story, not really related, but sort of related. In Japan, one of the racing stables I work at in Japan, they showed me a filly and they said there's something wrong with her. She doesn't we think she just doesn't want to be a racehorse. And I went, oh, it's possible. Like,
I don't like to run.
Sometimes horses don't want to be a part of it. But then when I sort of started working through, why they thought that, like, she just wasn't running well. She didn't really want to run, and she wouldn't try in races, and it made her a very bad racehorse. And I went through all of her feeding history and stuff, and they said something about how she has a tendency to put on weight really easily. And they bed on straw up there, like pretty much every horse is bedded on straw. So and they feed lots and lots of hay. So they nearly always got lots of hay. But this horse would eat all of her hay and then start eating her bedding. And so what they thought to do was, well, we'll just muzzle her so she can't eat the bedding. So she was spending most nights muzzled. And I went, this is adding up now. I said, I reckon if you do a gastroscope on this horse, you will find really bad ulceration. And I'd say that's why she's not wanting to run, because she's in pain. And it made very strong recommendation, which they will have followed, not to muzzle horses overnight, because if they can't chew and salivate and have fibre in their stomach, then they get ulceration. So yeah, it was just interesting with her that, in the stables up there, like, horses are fed almost too much hay. Like they eat so much hay that it moves through their gastrointestinal tract quite quickly and then doesn't get fully digested, it's not a health problem. It's just a waste. Like, when you're paying for all of that hay, you're not actually extracting all the energy out of it because it's moving so fast. But it's nice for the horses because they're not being restricted in any way. They just get to eat as much as they want. But for these ones that were, putting on weight, and like she was an unusual one, and they had muzzled her, and then they could see that there was this, like, for her it was a massive difference. Like, just wouldn't run.
Just flat out no. Well, it was funny because I always, every time they come in, you can see they're anxious. You can see their little eyes are like just so wired. And then once the sedation wears off and they go out and they put their head straight down, you can see their body relax. And you're just like, this is so interesting to do this. Because they get off the float and they're just like, I just want to eat. And I'm like, I get it. I'm hangry. I feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I just said they're fasted, and
because they're just they've never
been
been fasted before. Most of these horses.
Yeah.
And it's a whole thing.
It's a tough thing. Like, I'd really love to gastroscope a lay, just because I'm just interested. Like, we never got to do her because there were no scoping days in the early days of us having her off the track, and she wasn't showing me any signs that she was ulcerated enough, or she wasn't actually showing me any signs that she was ulcerated. She would flick her tail when Tamaya was riding her, but you could kind of see that she was doing it when she was confused. Like, she didn't know what Tamaya wanted, or she didn't know what she was doing. She'd be flicking her tail. But that was about the only thing that she was doing, and so it didn't warrant, fasting her here and then driving her an hour and a half to the nearest vet clinic that can do the gastroscoping. But part of me would really love to just have a look inside her stomach, because I just want to see and know that everything's healthy in there. And then I have to fast her for 12 to 16 hours. And I find that so hard. Like, I will do it absolutely if there's a horse that I know likely needs treatment and I want to know where the ulcers are so that we can treat them properly. There's not a question. But for a horse that appears perfectly healthy just for my interest, I can't bring myself to do it.
That's where my brain's been at for ages. Like with Bravo, I never thought about it. And then now I want to go and do Chippies and Sparky, Matt's new pony, because we're doing the insulin test. Because, side note, Nerida won't let me clip them to make them feel cold in winter.
Side note, Orla messaged me the other day. She'd go, what did you say? How much would you hate me, or would you stop talking to me?
On a scale of 1 to cruel.
Oh, that's right. 1 to 10. How cruel is it to clip these horses and make them feel cold? I went, well, I don't think an animal ethics committee would allow that, so I wouldn't do it. And you didn't do it.
No, I wouldn't. But yeah, so we're going to do the insulin test. But before that, I wanted to scope them to see if what Bree was saying down south, a lot of these horses with all these EMS problems and the higher cortisol levels and yada, yada, yada with inflammation, do they have ulcers? So I'm dying to get a scope into Chippies and Sparky and see if these problematic horses are going to give me more problems.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting for me to do Popcorn because she's like absolutely metabolic, and she's exactly like her mother. I bred her, and someone actually, Zach on the podcast the other day, said she must be about ready to have her own foal. Like, nope, I'm done with this bloodline, but I love them, but I don't want to be managing them for the rest of my life. But yeah, it'd be interesting with her too, because she and her mum did as well. Keela did as well. They had they hate being brushed, but they're also very sensitive horses. So I don't know how much of it is just that's her and how much. So I would actually love to have a look in her stomach.
We'll make that happen.
Watch this space.
Yeah.
All or an old scope our metabolic ponies and let you know how we go.
Speaking of Zach, I listened to that episode. It was very good. Did I ever tell you about the first time I actually met him properly? Zach. So I've always dealt with his dad. And so I was going down to deliver Christmas gifts, as I do every year. And I rang Luke Will Smith and was like, Luke, where are you? And he's like, oh, I'm at Telugamville. Perfect. 2 birds, 1 stone. Went down and I'm walking towards his horse. There's a guy on the left holding it and Luke is underneath doing its feet. I woke up and I think I give the horse a pat. I'm saying hello to Luke. And I grab the horse's cresty neck, give it a wiggle. And Luke baits me completely. He says something, oh, what about the horses here? They're a bit fat. And I was like, oh, God, yeah, they're always fed too much. And then Luke pops up and is like, Orla, Zach, Orla. And I was like, wow, nice to meet you. At least you know exactly what I think about your horses.
Oh,
damn it.
they were always very well fed, but it was such a funny thing working on that farm, because it was all done out of love.
Oh, 100%.
Like, you're gonna
Best
love
farm.
these things to death. But anyway.
Yeah. All right, we should already do
Anyway.
some questions. Okay. Well, staying on the ulcer side of it, I know we started talking about this before we started recording, and I already have forgotten what we actually said. With the Haynets, there's been some studies done about Haynets causing ulcers. Have you had a look at that?
I tried to, and I can't find whether it's actually published research or whether this is Ben Sykes has posted about it recently. So, and saying that horses that ate free choice hay ate around 3% of their body weight per day versus horses eating out of normal hay nets had eaten around 2%, and then they had higher incidence of gastric ulcers. But I want to see the research, because I don't know, it wasn't clear in the little bit that I read whether it was glandular ulcers, like was it gastric ulcers because they were stressed from having to pull hay out of hay nets, or was it just because to protect a horse's stomach they're needing around that 3% of forage per day, and the minimum requirement used to be 1% of body weight, like 5 kilos for a 500 kilogram horse. And thank goodness when the Pat Harris and co-authors, when they rewrote the guidelines for feeding forage to horses, they increased that to 1.5%. But that's still half of 3%.
What they would, yeah.
It's still not a whole lot. So it's really interesting that if we are seeing a higher incidence of ulcers in horses that are eating 2% of their body weight in forage versus 3%, so for a 500 kilogram horse, 10 kilos versus 15 kilos a day, that's interesting. And it's interesting to me that the horses out of normal hay nets ate, and
what type of hay net as well?
I guess everyone's idea of a normal hay net is different too. Like my idea of a normal hay net is like the 10 centimetre by 10 centimetre squares. And if I fed my horses nice hay out of those hay nets, they'd smash it still. They smash it out of their tiny little whole hay nets because they're like such masters at eating out of them.
The fingers.
Yeah, I guess that's let me find the paper and then we can do an episode on that, because it's interesting. And I did notice, like I'd read that, and then you read something like that and it kind of bumps around in your head. And I took our Spotty the pony some hay, and she was out in the chook yard, which is now brilliantly green, but we were like severe drought conditions here until about 2 weeks ago, as you know. So she was getting hay, rose and Lucerne hay in a slow feed hay pillow on the ground every day, and then I'd throw her some Lucerne hay without putting it in the hay net. But this particular day I had put all of her hay in the hay net, and I'd only just read just a little social media snippet of the research from Ben, and put her hay net on the ground, and she was so hungry when I put it down. Like there was little bits of pasture to pick around on, but she was so adamant that she wanted to get, and it's beautiful Lucerne hay. So she was like really wanting to get to this Lucerne hay. And I was watching her, I'm like, wow, it wouldn't surprise me if that was a little bit stressful for her at that point in time because she was hungry and then she was trying to get it through these little holes. And so I unzipped it and pulled like a big chunk of it out and put it on the ground so that initially she could just eat that and it wasn't work for her. And then after she'd had that, then she could just pick away at the hay bag. Because if I gave her that hay without putting it in a hay bag, she'd eat it within less than 2 hours. Whereas in the hay bag, it was still there it'd still be there that afternoon, and then I'd top it up again. So I guess there's two sides to that. If I just gave it to her, she would eat it all, but then she'd be standing around without any hay. But then the other side is, well, in the hay bag, she's only picking little bits at a time, and she actually hasn't eaten very much hay, and she hasn't eaten as much hay as which is the whole point, right? Like to restrict their intake. So it's I don't know, there's always these things to think about. And the more we learn, the more we know. And the more we know, the better we can manage them. But yeah, it's inconvenient.
Well, because every time I pulled up, it was like, oh, yeah, you're the girl who used to work Prides. So what do you think about the Haynet topic? And I was like, oh,
yeah,
God damn you, Ben.
I
was like, I don't know.
I'll have to track down the actual research and read all the ins and outs, because the other thing is too, like, and Ben says in other articles, like, they will produce less saliva when hay is fed from shoulder height versus ground height, which is really interesting, and something that we should all keep in mind is that the more we can feed hay from ground level, the better. So there's a confounding factor there, right? Because if you've got hay in a hay net at shoulder height, then you're getting less saliva production. So was it that they were eating hay from the hay net and eating less hay? Or was it, I think they meant their shoulder.
Well, I was going to say, I'm sorry, I just stood up to actually go, how bloody tall is shoulder height if I look on a wall? And it's very tall. A horse can't eat that. Like, it's going to be very uncomfortable to watch.
If you have shoulder horses and you've got normal hay nets with big holes, then you can't put them too low, because if they stick their foot through them and get their shoes stuck on them, which, if you've got an expensive horse, that's exactly what it's going to do. You have to have them up reasonably high. So, but you see the confounding factor though, like you've got both then reduced saliva production and reduced hay intake, and you can't separate them out.
No. How do you monitor how much saliva they're producing?
I don't know.
It's where my brain's now.
Yeah. We'll have to find that research as well, but it's
next episode.
Yeah,
we need answers on that one.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. But
I'm salivating just thinking about salivating.
What did you do before? When I said to Orla something about how they produce more saliva with their head down, she's then pretending she's a horse and putting her head down and head up to see if she salivates more. So it's all about science around here, isn't it?
Really putting the facts out there.
Oh, make me laugh.
This is why we don't get together.
Hey, quick pause. You know what costs horse owners the most? It's not buying the wrong supplement. It's spending years second-guessing yourself, Googling at midnight and wondering if you're getting it wrong. That's the thing I built My Happy Horse to fix. It helps you create clear, personalised nutrition plans for your horse based on actual science, so you can stop doubting and start trusting yourself again. Find it at myhappy.horse or on the App Store. Okay, back to it.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that one. Maybe Ben listens and Ben can give us more.
I need to do more reading on that one.
Yeah. All right. Now, you have a message. Can I say the listener's name? Or your member's name?
Emma. Oh,
Emma?
The message I was saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a question from Emma. I will summarize it. So basically, there's been a bit of scaremongering in the past about metabolic sugar issues. I'm guessing she has a heavy horse. And then everyone always assumes that when you have a heavy horse, laminitis, PPID, EMS, sugar issues are always there. She's been told basically not to feed Lucerne because it's too high in sugars, and to feed Rhodes grass and other low sugar things. And then in hindsight, she's questioning, was that actually the right thing to do? Because she's just been cutting out protein and calcium. And I'm guessing she's doing the blood works because the bloods are coming back and saying that there's no issues. So she's feeding all these low sugar diets. Her bloods are saying it's fine. So is it good practice, or she should be feeding Lucerne? There's a summary of a very long-winded question.
Yeah, it was a long question, but it was a good question.
Very good question. Because I want that answer too.
Yeah, and there's kind of two parts to it. So the horse was not testing as insulin dysregulated. And I had this with a pony the other day too, and Spotty's gone off to a very cute little 5-year-old girl, so Spotty's not here anymore. I feel a little bit sad about that, but she also looks very happy, and it's very cute where she's gone. So I've never ever sold a horse, and I said to Amy, the lady that has taken her just to try her out, I said she's not, for a pony, she's not metabolic, which is amazing. She has no metabolic tendencies whatsoever, but I still manage her like a metabolic pony because we know through experience and also through research that if you feed horses that may be prone to insulin dysregulation, high starch, high sugar, like grain-based feeds when they're younger, they seem to get more insulin dysregulated when they're older. So with breeds that have a tendency to often be insulin dysregulated, including your heavy horses, I will normally feed them as if they are metabolic, even if currently they're not, because at some point in the future they probably will be. And I think the earlier you start feeding them as if they're metabolic, the longer they'll stay normal. And then by the time they do get metabolic, you'll be well and truly practiced at managing them. So two parts to it. So there's that for this horse. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that she was being advised to feed it a low sugar diet. Advice that I don't like that she was given is that, well, one, Lucerne is high in sugars, because that's just not accurate. So Lucerne is a legume, and legumes don't, sorry, yeah, Lucerne is a legume. Legumes don't accumulate fructans like grasses do, and Lucerne doesn't accumulate starch like clovers will. So clover can actually be really high in starch, but Lucerne just doesn't seem to do that. And I've seen lots of Lucerne analyses, a lot that you sent me over the years, and you look at all I've just trawled through so much data from Equianalytical for our US forages database. There might be, a very weird odd sample that is high in non-structural carbohydrate for Lucerne or alfalfa, same, but different names. And, that rhymes. Look at me go. I've never said it like that before.
It was such a delayed recognition as well. Ooh.
Oh, I may have been up a little bit early this morning. And it just doesn't accumulate non-structural carbohydrate. So for metabolic horses, it's actually a beautiful forage because it's mostly safe. You can never say that something is always safe because there are horses that will react to it, and maybe it's the protein that sets their insulin off enough to give them a reaction to it. But honestly, the horses that are in that category are so small, and for other metabolic horses, it's a beautiful forage. And like Emmett said, like it brings in really nice protein, and then she's on warm season. She doesn't have any high oxalate grasses, but she's got oxalate containing grasses in her pasture, so the calcium is important. And as she said, in following that advice and taking the Lucerne out, she's taken the protein and calcium, and the other thing she took out was fibre diversity. Yeah. So it's not, I don't like ever having horses restricted down to just one hay. So, the advice, don't feed them Lucerne, just feed Rhodes. Like, they would be so much better off. I mean, 2 is still really limited, and that horse has got access to pasture, so she wasn't just on hay. But there are a lot of horses, metabolic horses, that are just kept on hay, and if you take them back to, say, just teff or just Rhodes grass or just Bermuda grass, then you're doing so much damage physiologically because you're restricting the fibre diversity in their diet down so much. And then you're restricting their microbiome down, and then that has all of these far-reaching knock-on effects.
So then why are we soaking Lucerne hay for metabolic horses?
Because people are scared of it. And there's a school of thought, and it is very much in the veterinary community. So if you're a vet listening to this,
she's going to get me in so much trouble now.
Yeah. It's just something that I don't know where it came from. It's a little bit like maybe the canola oil thing, and maybe not to that extreme, but wherever it came from, there's been a school of thought that Lucerne is an unsafe forage for metabolic horses, and maybe because it is like what you kind of classify it as like a rich forage.
Yeah.
but it's not sugary.
Right. I think it's because when you eat it yourself, it tastes so sweet and nice. You need to start recording this just so I could get your face in a video.
Oh dear. Yeah, no, I don't know. Like I dare say if we tracked it back, we would find a textbook or something that says
So good.
that don't, and it probably doesn't have any reason for it other than it appears to be a rich forage. So like they used to, when a horse was laminitic, they used to lock it up and feed it only oat and hay. That's the worst thing you could possibly do to it. Yeah, like white stuff.
White stuff.
So
Only feed it white because white has no calories.
yeah, it was just feed it white stuff, and so Lucerne is the opposite of that. Like it's very green, so it may even have been like an association between green grass, which caused the laminitis in the first place, and then they would go, well, green's bad, so let's do white, and therefore Lucerne. I don't know where it came from, but there's no science to support it because there's squillions of analyses done on alfalfa, Lucerne, to show that it's not high in NSC. It's nearly always less than 10%.
Yeah.
And nearly always less than 12%. Yeah.
If that actually changes.
Yeah. It would be interesting. And Pat Harris was telling us when we were all in Denver for the AAEP convention in December. Listen to me go. I'm just rhyming all over the place in Denver in December. They wanted him about today. Anyway, but Pat was telling us about hay that they had soaked, and I can't remember the details now off the top of my head, but there was one hay that they were soaking. It didn't matter how long they soaked it for, it did not change non-structural carbohydrate level. And I'm like, well, that's also inconvenient. I wish researchers would stop finding all of these inconvenient things. But yeah, so I don't know. I think maybe there would probably be Lucerne soaking things. Cool story though. A horse. Local horse here, so Kate and her horse, they messaged me in a complete panic and said, we've just nerve blocked his feet and he's got issues in it. He's lame. We found it's in his feet. And then they did what the vet said was resting insulin. It was actually probably more like a peak insulin because he'd eaten rice bran like 2 hours before.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, and so this massively high insulin response, and they were like, what are we going to do? And I said, don't panic. I said, you have actually measured a peak insulin because of what? I said, when did he last eat? And they told me, and I said, it's probably more like a peak insulin. And I know like from my PhD research that the extruded rice bran will give you a pretty high peak. And I said, he's just telling you that he's metabolic and it'll all be okay. I said, once you get his diet right, he'll be fine. And he went back and they competed at a local show for the first time in, I think it was like 18 months. Kate wrote a really nice post about it. And he won all of his classes, and then he was either champion or reserve champion in his champion class. And that was all really cool. But then about a week later, Kate messaged me and he said, he gets cramps, muscle cramps. And at this point, I'm like, what is going on here? But she said, the weird thing is, once we started soaking his hay, the muscle cramps stopped. And so my brain's going, what, trying to find, what is a condition that would cause muscle cramping that when you soaked hay. And initially I went, oh, maybe PSSM. And that he was cramping with PSSM, and then now they're soaking the hays, and they were also like feeding him on a much lower sugar hay than that was, and taken, rice bran and grain, anything with grain in it out of his diet, and that maybe that was why his muscles were better. But then I think we looked at blood tests or something. I think we kind of went, oh no, maybe not PSSM. And maybe HYPP. They were going to get him tested, but the hypokalemic periodic paralysis. And of course, when you soak hay, you soak a lot of the potassium out. In soaking the hay for the metabolic condition, and they were soaking Lucerne, and I had said to them, you don't need to soak the Lucerne, but they were so worried about it that they kept soaking the Lucerne. And then it's had this like flow-on positive side effect that it had also stopped him from, I didn't realise he was cramping. I've never seen a horse do it. And so I saw it and I was like, wow, I've not seen
like what
that
type of
before.
cramping are we talking?
Like Kate had said, it'd start somewhere, and then like you just see all of their muscles like quivering, and it was freaky. Like you could see it. Don't know. I think Australian stock horse, which very likely got quarter horse. But I went right back through his whole bloodline and there was no, what was the stallion's name? Impressive, I think. The one stallion that they thought all the HYPP, but maybe it comes in from somewhere else. Anyway, they were gonna genetically test him, but it just made me think of it when we're talking about soaking hay, and that they're like, why would soaking the hay improve this? And I don't know whether maybe it is PSSM, maybe it's HIPP. I don't know, but
Well, now my brain's just flicked back to an episode that we did way back when. And I told you about a horse that cramped into the point where it fell down because it was getting the TENS machine. Remember the PENF machine? HYYP. That's what I was trying to come up with all those many episodes
is that what
ago.
that horse was?
That's what that was.
Oh,
yes, he had that.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Huh. Yeah,
I was solved my question from a year ago.
Yeah. Oh, is that what they tested him and they found out that
they knew? So they hadn't told the person doing the doing the PENF machine on him. She had said, has he got PSSM?
Yeah.
Any of that? No. And then hadn't filled in that she was feeding him quite a high grain diet and yada yada yada. So when the machine went on, he just cramped and dropped to the ground because he was young. So he was like, his first reaction was like, lie down.
Yeah. So HYPP is going to be worse on high forage diets because forage is really high in potassium, and it's potassium that sets it off.
There you go.
Anyway,
right.
Well, have we laughed about silly things and chatted for long enough for an episode?
Did we cover anything? We got 2 questions in.
I don't know. We seem to meander around, but anyway, hopefully something we chatted about will be useful. And thanks for dropping in.
Always.
It's been fun. We should
have a decaf coffee.
We should do, and maybe not should do more of those episodes when we're actually together. We'll do one more. All right. And thank you for joining us, everyone. It is really, we appreciate you being here, and we will catch you in the next episode.
Bye.
If you'd like to know more about the My Happy Horse Nutrition app and how it can help you create personalised nutrition for your horse, grab the download link straight from the show notes or head over to myhappy.horse. And while you're there, check out Dr Nerida AI. That's me in AI format, ready to answer your horse nutrition questions even in the middle of the night. Thank you for being here, and I will catch you in the next episode.